John P. Cashion worked on the canals his entire life, following in the footsteps of Patrick Cashion, his Ireland-born father. John drove mules, was a steersman, and a canal boat captain. In his retired years, he used his experience to build canal boat models of various types that would have transported lime, lumber, black marble, and later paper on the Glens Falls feeder and Champlain canals. Having spent his entire working life on the canals, John had intimate knowledge of the waterfront on the Glens Falls feeder canal. The following descriptions are taken from a manuscript written by Cashion and deposited in the special collections of the Folklife Center at Crandall Public Library.
The Glens Falls feeder canal, it started at Feeder Dam and was about 7 miles long, connecting with the Champlain Canal about 2 miles north of Fort Edward. Starting at what was called Prine Island on the east side were 2 big barns belonging to the Finch Prine Company. There they kept the horses that they used around the sawmill and lime kilns. Next came Morgan Lumber Company's planing mill. Then came the lumber platforms where the wood was loaded on wagons as it came across the river on a seemingly endless cable from the Morgan dry dock. Then the Glens Falls Gas and Electric Company plant, and their coal sheds where the coal was stored as it was boated up from South Amboy, New Jersey. Next came J.H. O'Connor's coal yard and the lime shed of Morgan Lumber Company. Now this would hold a boatload of barreled lime that was carried by wagons from the lime kilns across the river. On the east side again was Finch Prine Company's sawmill. There on the bank of the river where Finch Prine owns a park. When Finch Prine built the paper mill, the sawmill was torn down, and they got themselves a mill at Feeder Dam on the east side of the river and boated lumber there, until they built their present mill on Henry Street, just below the canal bridge where Finch Prine is a store now. Now Dick O'Brien, he had a store across on the east side. Next up on the east side was Finch Prine Company's coal sheds. Coal was boated up the canal and stored there. On the other side of the canal was International Paper's derrick, where their supplies for the mill were unloaded. Clay, resin, alum, they were taken across the river by wagons. When IP shipped wallpaper by boat, it came by wagons from the mill and was loaded on boats on the towpath just above the canal bridge. Now next was the Glens Falls Transportation Company storehouse on the canal bank across from Lime Street. Now it's called Ferdella Ave. They ran the last 2 packets from Glens Falls. Next, on both sides of the canal, was Finch Prine Company's lime kilns, and next was the Jointa Line Company's kilns. On the other side of the canal was the Singleton Coal Company yard. Now that's where their coal was unloaded from boats. Next to Singleton's on the same side of the canal was the Sherman Dry Dock. And on the towpath side, that's where Sherman lime kilns were. I think some of the kilns are there yet. Next was the Glens Falls Portland Cement Company, which must have started around 1893, I think. Morgan Lumber Company had 2 big horse barns. Now one was just before you came to Henry Street coming from Basin Street. The other one is torn down, but it was at the corner of Basin and Mohican Streets. The Imperial Wallpaper Company had coal come by boats. Now they had a derrick on the towpath and a big shed. The next place on the canal was Higley and Barber Coal Company, then the Change Bridge. The towpath went from the right side to the left side. Next up was Griffin's Lumber Company, and they also had a coal yard on the canal, and their coal came by boats too. Just before Griffin's was a basin that the Kenyon Lumber Company had for logs. The logs went out of the basin, down by Griffin's, under the road to the Kenyon Company mill. There were 13 locks in the feeder canal before you got to Champlain Canal. The first one was called Griffin's or Upper Lock. Next was Sawmill Lock. Next, the Big Lock. Now, after the Big Lock came the 5 combines. Then the Upper Cane Lock, the Lower Barney Cane Lock, the 2 combines, and then the lower lock where you entered the Champlain Canal.